call to the public. You're on, if you want to.
Yeah. Based on, just on the agendas on your meeting, grab my glasses here. I do have one concern I want to bring up to the committee here. It says the Finance Committee's discussion and possible recommendation to establish a budget amount to add on an in-house lawyer to the airport's senior management team. My question would be, based on what Mr. Benish said at the last committee meeting, it's probably going to go to more like $200,000 to $250,000 rather than $150,000. Concerned with that, plus the fact that we have enough money to hire an in-house lawyer. We don't have enough money to do what you guys told us to do originally, which was pave the back of the JMAR area so we could drive our cars to the plane, or even go one step further, go into and pave Somerton Airport. That's my only concern, where this money is coming from. And I've also been told by a couple of legal friends of mine that there are websites that the lawyers use that a secretary or someone higher up could basically print that off, fill in the blanks, and then send it to our existing lawyer, Barn Benish Company, to just look it over, which would be to me a lot cheaper than trying to hire another in-house lawyer. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. You want to talk about this?
Okay, yes, sir. Here's an overview of the agenda for today. We are going to discuss two items which were added after 12 o'clock yesterday. Under Arizona state law, I need to point this fact out. And after this meeting, we will then post a notice for 24 hours that we discussed these two items. These additions were added because of timeliness with the current events, things that are going on. And those two items are going to be talking about a potential opportunity to trade AIP entitlement funds with Grand Canyon, and then to advise you there's a possible refinance by Blue Energy, and I'll talk about those here in a little bit. And then finally, a scheduled item, which is to establish a budget for an in-house attorney. Let me just make sure I've covered the legal issues here. So for these two items are for emergency consideration, and that we, because we did not have the opportunity to put them on, I consider them an emergency in that one is a $1.8 million at risk if we do not move expeditiously, and the other is this happened literally at 10 o'clock this morning. I had a phone conference with Mr. Benish, Mr. Scott Tunn of Blue Energy, and two other attorneys from Biltmore Bank, and I'll talk about those. So, okay, first on the agenda is a potential to trade entitlement funds with Grand Canyon National Airport. Grand Canyon is a certificated airport. They have $1 million in annual entitlement, just like we do. Just a little bit of background on entitlement funds. When you get those on an annual basis, you have 4 years in which to spend them, and if you don't, you lose them. Grand Canyon.
What does AIP stand for?
Airport Improvement Program.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll hear me refer to that variously as a CIP, Airport Capital Improvement Program, or just AIP, Airport Improvement Program, and that's an FAA term. So once a year we have this funding available, and Grand Canyon National Airport is trying to, they have two issues. One, it's difficult for them to spend their AIP money because they are literally owned by the state of Arizona. And so I thought it was difficult for me at my last airport being part of a city. For them being part of the state, it just, multiply those bureaucratic nightmares 100-fold. So they have difficulty spending their money on the one hand. On the other hand, they're trying to save their money over an extended period of time so they can build themselves a new terminal. They have already banked some years of entitlement funds with, who's that with, Gladys? Mesa?
Mesa Gateway.
With Mesa Gateway. They are now in a position where they need to bank these, again, with another airport. They've kind of put the word out. And so I think this is an opportunity for us if we want to take it. There's both opportunity and risk. The issue on our side is this year we know we're not going to get enough money to build the DCC apron that we want to build. We need a little over we need a little over $3 million to build enough concrete out there in the DCC apron. We've been told we're going to get 1.4. If we were to take this money from Grand Canyon, which the actual swap is a very simple thing to do, and you have a piece of paper in front of you. It's the one with the FAA logo. You fill this form out. It goes through the wickers and wickets, and we get approval to swap that money. That would then be added to our entitlement for this year. There's another side to that coin which I'll talk about in a minute. So it would be easy for us to do that and have enough money this year to build a DCC apron. Now the risk side is what Grand Canyon wants is for us to sign an agreement with them that we will return the favor at some point in the future. We have not yet worked out those details. What I have offered to them, if we go this route, that we would entertain paying it back not sooner than 2017, and we would want a 3-year period. And so what that would mean is we would have $2 million over that. We would have $3 million over that 3-year period. If we paid back this $1.8 million, that would be $600,000 a year. That would leave us some amount, about $400,000 a year of our own, which we could then combine with discretionary funds to do stuff. And so this is a question of, do you want to pay me now or pay me later? Bird in the hand, two in the bush kind of thing.
Any interest involved?
There's no interest involved. So this is essentially getting an interest-free loan from, and you can, from the state, from Grand Canyon, from the FAA, however you want to look at it. Now, if let's say we don't do this deal, and Grand Canyon is unable to find someone to do the deal as well, and so far nobody's picked up on it, then that money will go back into the FAA pot and then be available for discretionary. So if we want to take the risk of not getting the money, we can decline this opportunity and then hope to pick it up as discretionary funding. My belief is the odds of that are low because it was the FAA who called us and said, we know that you're out of money this year, here's an opportunity for you to pick up that money. And so if we don't take advantage of that, I don't think they're going to be sympathetic to us and helping us out with that money. And I can't tell you what the odds are there. So we can take a sure thing, get the money this year, and then hopefully by 2017 we will have addressed the big ticket issues, and paying back that money will not be a killer. So that's kind of where it is. A lot of details to be worked out. Gladys is working this with Grand Canyon and with the FAA and with our program manager at the FAA. Assuming all this can come together, and then also with the state, this is an opportunity for us to do the DCC apron this year. My belief is I would rather do the DCC apron this year because that then opens up the expansion that we've been talking about, and I think the timing is right for that. In 2017, if we take a hit on our entitlements, hopefully by then we will be in a position where that's not going to be a major obstacle for us. What is your feeling on that?
My personal feeling, I like the idea. I mean, if it's going to go back to FAA, let's take advantage of the thing and get the money. The payback is the problem. If we don't get good enough terms, then I can't see doing it. I mean, if they hammer us in 2017 or 2018 and say, hey, we want our 1.8 million.
Oh no, we would. Those terms would be established before we did the deal.
Yeah.
And my feeling is, I would pay back starting in 2017 for 3 years. I think the worst case scenario is they would insist on 2016 in 2 years. I think we just hold firm to 2017 for 3 years. I don't think they're going to be ready to use the money earlier than 2017, quite frankly, just because it takes them so long to get something through. So that's what I would shoot for. But regardless, the transaction would not happen until the deal with the state was signed. And if we can't get the terms we want from the deal with the state, we wouldn't do it.
So, I mean, this is going to come back to the board, though, right?
Absolutely,
The whole
absolutely,
board.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Yeah, what I want is from you guys, a acknowledgement, yeah, continue to investigate and move forward. I don't want to go off on this on my own without the finance committee saying, yeah, it looks like there's some potential here, go ahead and keep doing it, and that's what we'll work on. In the end, we're going to have to come back to the board for at least 2 signatures, one with the FAA and one with the state.
And with the state and the FAA, you don't feel like there's any major problems, any hurdles?
No, I don't. I don't. This is part of a normal program that the FAA does. They don't have any heartburn with it. The state has done this before with Grand Canyon in the not too recent past for this new terminal that they're trying to bank money for. So I don't see any legal or regulatory hurdles. The only issue I see is that Grand Canyon would say, no, we want it 2016 in 2 years. From my perspective, that's just the non-starter. I think 2017 in 3 years can work out to be a good deal for us.
Did you say that Gladys had talked to Mike up at
Yes,
Grand Canyon?
yes, yeah. Her and I have both talked to Mike about this.
Okay, he's a pretty reasonable guy.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been spending an awful lot of money up there because we helped build the new control tower, and we did a bunch of remodel on the existing terminal, a lot of upgrades. So
Now,
they probably spent a pretty good wad already.
yeah. The best case scenario is, but you can't bank on this, but what I keep my fingers crossed for is we do the deal 2017 in 3 years. 2017 comes, these guys still haven't got their act together, and the deal expires, and we wind up, in great shape. But
Now, the time limit is still on Grand Canyon, not on us to use the funds?
Well, we would write it into the deal that we're going to give them the money back for the terminal. And if they can't put the terminal deal together, then we would they probably wouldn't agree that we just write the debt off, but we then would start extending it. And the longer we extend it, the better it is for us.
So these funds weren't actually for a terminal, they were just for Grand Canyon? Is that
They were
right?
just for Grand Canyon. Yeah,
So we can use them any way we want?
Oh, absolutely. When they come to us, we can use them on our DCC apron. They would come to us as entitlement funds. And the DCC apron is identified as a high priority project for us.
All right. I'm new, so you're going to have to forgive some of these questions.
Sure.
I'm assuming that once the DCC apron is completed, it's going to start helping generate revenue?
Yes and no. We can't expand our operation further without it. we don't have enough pavement today to do the operations that we have coming in out there. The reason for that is the AIC, the new building that we're building, is going to come online at the end of August this year.
Right.
Once that comes online, I have no more ramp space. Right now,
Can you show Bill a picture of an overview so we know what we're talking about?
Because I'm looking at doing quick math, it's $50,000 a month, and I'm thinking, okay, are we going to create something that will help at least generate at least a portion of that? I mean, I can't, even a building's not going to generate $50,000 a month.
the
Still shows the old fields on there.
This is the ramp space out there. What
Okay.
is not shown is Border Patrol.
Right.
Did we ever take you out on that tour?
Yeah.
Okay. This
Border
is
Patrol, and then I was actually at the groundbreaking for the one.
Right, for the
that-
AIC.
Okay.
Okay, and then Amelia Earhart hangar is being constructed right here. And so what we're talking about is bringing this concrete down. This year, I'm hoping to bring it down about to this taxiway.
Okay.
And I can't tell you exactly where it
That's
is.
about right.
Isn't it 800 feet?
630.
Well, that's the whole thing is 800, isn't it?
Yeah.
The
with-
base
yeah,
bid
with
plus
additional,
the
yeah.
alternates
Yep.
is 800 feet.
Okay, so
it'll
that's about
come
right,
down
okay.
to right about there.
Yep.
So we want to build out this much concrete. Now, we have to build out at least this here, and that's for the Amelia Earhart hangar, and we've contracted that we will do that. Now, the $1 million will do that. The problem is that when both of these are in operation, this ramp space is effectively, not legally, but effectively taken out of the equation because Border Patrol puts their helicopters out there.
Mhm.
You got to be able to let them do that.
Right.
Whoever moves in here, they're going to have something out there. So I can't bring in the heavies that we have now, the Boeings, the Lockheeds, the McDonnell Douglas, Rolls, the GE, and park them, the Antonovs. I'll be left with only this spot, and that's not really even an apron. So I need the apron both for revenue, but also just for daily operations. That's my biggest requirement. The AIP money we get, typically you don't consider it a loan because we've gotten millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I don't generate revenue off that investment.
But this one has to be paid back.
It does, but it'll be paid back with future grant funds.
We could get the money
Like a
to pay that
revolving
back.
account.
I'm thinking of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but same, okay.
No,
I mean,
it's not really robbing, it's a revolving.
okay, and I get that, okay. My world, I see money going out, how are
Yeah.
we getting it back?
Yeah, and in this case, we get $1 million a year from the FAA.
Okay.
And that's our entitlement. So we get $1 million a year from the FAA, as does Grand Canyon. So I don't know what the timing is on their end, but they've got almost 2 years of entitlement that they can't spend. And so if they don't do something, they just lose it. So they're going to give it to us. So starting in 2017, I will take my entitlement money, which is by law. That money is going to come into me, and then I will give it back to them. So they're swapping, sharing, however you want to look at it.
So you're basically taking a project that would have been not completed in a year or two, doing it now, knowing that you're going to give them money back to them.
That's right.
Okay.
How far down will that 1.8 million and plus the $1 million, how much?
The 1.4 million will essentially give me enough for the Amelia Earhart
That's the
hangar.
800?
That
800
is-
feet you were talking about?
Yeah, the 800 feet would be this far, roughly.
All right, where's that money coming from?
That money, we don't have that money today. So if we take our entitlement money this year of 1.4
Right.
plus their money, that'll get us close to build all this. And I think it'll give us enough to build the whole thing. Because even if our price tag comes in at 3.4, 3.6. We're going to be so close, I think the FAA will come across with a little bit of discretionary so we can do the whole project. And I don't know right now what that price is going to be, so these are all estimates.
So using that field as a point of reference, if that yellow line is 800 feet, assuming the next two below those green blocks below are another 800, is the thought in 5 years, 10 years from now to fill that up?
Yeah. See, the thing is, right now, if I just do the first 200 feet with the money that I got, then I'll have enough for Amelia Earhart, but I can't grow.
Right.
And so that's the other thing is by putting it in there now, it gives me the money so I can take care of current operations plus have expansion space for future growth.
Okay. So, what was that? Would you say $3 million to cover that 800 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so you got another 3 and another 3 with plans in the future?
Yeah.
All right, and I just haven't been around. Sorry for the redundant questions.
No, that's
but-
okay. So my hope is that if we can get this in place and then get tenants, get some construction either ourselves or hopefully from developers. What I would like for all future construction to come from is from the tenant himself, who will come in and build it on a long-term lease. What we get out of that is ground rent.
Right.
If we get to the point where I've rented all this airport property out, that's going to take us a long way in solving future financial issues.
Okay, and which is probably why you said yes and no. Will that bring in revenue? Not necessarily.
No.
However, in the future,
It opens up the door.
And that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So, sorry I don't have more details right now, but this is a kind of late breaking news. My feeling is, at the very least, we should move forward with this because see if we can get the terms that we want. Best case scenario, it all works out, we get all the ramp, and then in 2017 we start paying it back. Worst case scenario, we don't do the deal and we take our chances with this year's grant.
Jim, just a little bit of housekeeping. Ask Bill to join Finance Committee because Pat just has trouble making these meetings. And Bill being in the banking business, and he understands perfectly all of this, absolutely. Besides, he's a politician now. So.
Well, yeah, I understand it being a politician and everything, but I can't quite grasp the jarhead being a banker. How hard.
The jarhead being the banker running for city council, making all that. Yeah.
Well, I think it all makes sense, and since I'm quite familiar with the Grand Canyon Airport, having worked up there on several $1 million worth of projects, I know they spent the money already, so they really probably don't need it. So if we can take advantage of it, let's do it.
That's the way I feel. I mean,
Okay.
why not?
Okay, well then we will move forward, Gladys, on this project, getting the paperwork, trying to come to an agreement on terms with the state, and we'll come back to you in the future.
And this IGA is the final agreement on it, right?
That is a sample. That's the one that Mesa used with
Right.
them, and I haven't gone through it in detail yet.
Well, if it's already been done and approved, then all we have to do is basically copy it, right?
Yes. I just don't know if it's a good deal for us. Hopefully.
Don't look too bad.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then.
When will you hear from Grand Canyon about the payback, or
We've talked to him a couple times already.
it's just a negotiation?
Yeah. Obviously, he's pushing for 2016 in 2 years, and I'm pushing for 2017 in 3. And
or 2018 and 4 years.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is going to depend upon when his terminal starts being constructed. He's going to want that money then. My point to him is, if you have to, get a bridge loan. I mean, we've done that before. Now, what's your feeling? My feeling is, anytime before 2017 is a deal killer. What's your feeling? Would you go 2016?
If necessary, yes.
Okay.
I don't know enough to answer.
His hands are slightly tied because it's the state.
Yeah.
And they've got some ironclad rules, as you know already.
Yeah.
Just the same with the feds and everything. It's kind of hard to negotiate around some of them.
Okay.
Does he have to get the state approval
Oh, yeah.
of everything?
On everything.
Paybacks and everything?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. What about 2016 in 2 years. Is that a deal killer?
You're getting close, but.
Yeah, and I agree, but let me ask this. You said there's, and again, I'm stuck on the payback and job hazard, I guess. You get $1 million a year coming in as a grant. Is that kind of stuck away in an account somewhere? In the worst case scenario, they say 2 years and you 1 year, $1 million, another, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, so you could live with 2016 in 2 years. And what that would mean is in 2016, let's say we did this. In 2016, we would sign another agreement with the FAA, and we would transfer 900,000 of ours to Grand Canyon, and then we'd do it again the following year.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. And
Yeah.
Which just means a third of each one of those green things don't get
Yeah.
done.
Again, it's in Arizona, the state has to approve all of this, but can we have something in there to the effect that at 2016 and 2 years, they don't need it or can't use it at that point, that we can extend this again?
Yes. Yes. I haven't.
But it's not a have to all of a sudden give them back the money, whether they're going to use it or not.
That is my understanding, but I'm not positive on that. I'll find out.
Yeah, I guess it's livable, but I'm not real happy with it.
The 2 year thing?
Huh?
The 2 year?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, 2 years is a deal killer, because 2 years is a long time in our business with the growth that we're experiencing. There's always a $400,000 project that's got to be done.
Sucking $900,000 out of here would hurt.
Yeah, I just think that for me, I could go with 2016, but I can't go with 2 years. I can go with 3 years.
Well, let's ask for 2016, 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I stay as hard as you can on.
Yeah, well, I shoot for 2017 and 3,
2017, right,
and
yeah.
see if we can make them prove that it's got to be 2016. And if they can prove it, then we'll go 2016 and 3. Okay. Okey doke. That is that. So I will move forward on that. Blue Energy. This literally just happened. We had a phone conference, like I said earlier today. What happened is last week, Blue Energy sent me an agreement, a consent to assignment, with no information other than please sign this. It was obvious that we're refinancing. I looked through the agreement. I wasn't happy with it. I attached 2 pages of notes to it and sent it to Mr. Finish for review. He agreed with comments. We called Blue Energy back and said, well, actually, we sent them a long letter. So we can't see signing this at this point in time. We set up a conference today, and we finally found out what's going on. We had the phone conference included Scott Tunn of Blue Energy. He's their financial guy. I'm not even sure he's a Blue Energy guy, but we worked with him originally on the original deal.
It's signed by him.
Oh, yeah. It also included Mike Margrave and Mike Smalley of Biltmore Bank in Phoenix. Evidently, what Blue Energy wants to do is refinance their existing note with National Bank of Arizona. That note, and they described it as 2 separate notes, but it's a package kind of, single customer. It includes our solar plant, but it also includes the solar plant out at AWC.
Now, this is all of this solar.
That's right.
Here.
That's right. So they want to refinance that. NBA gave them a hard time, and so they went to Biltmore Bank. Biltmore said, yeah, we'll refinance it for you. NBA Southern came back and said, oh, well, if you're that hard over about it, we'll refinance it. Well, too late. We're already doing the deal with Biltmore. So it appears on the surface to be a legitimate deal. Biltmore is the one who drafted the consent to assignment, which we won't accept. In the conversation today, they agreed to rewrite the consent of assignment to provide us with a cover letter explaining what's going on in the first place. And so However, my comment to them was, well, you know, are you in a hurry on this? And they were like, yeah, we want to close the deal this week. And I said, that's impossible. The first thing I told them was it'll be the May board, but I said, well, we've got a finance committee meeting today. I'll bring this up. If they don't have any heartburn with it, we'll continue to work the paper details and bring it to the full board on this coming Tuesday. As best we can determine, and Mr. Benish reluctantly concurs, this appears to have no impact on us when it's done, if they improve the consent to assignment agreement. Now, because we weren't responsive to their timeline, they're going to go ahead and see if NBA will just sign a document assigning our revenue to Biltmore. And they'll go ahead and do the deal anyway, just without us. Mr. Benish explained to me that that is perfectly legal. We don't have any interest in that because we have an agreement with Blue Energy. We don't have an agreement with NBA. So if Blue Energy goes to NBA and gets them to assign the revenue, our revenue, to Biltmore, that's fine and dandy. So I don't know which way it's going to go right now, but I wanted to bring this to your attention and see if you have any heartburn with us pursuing this in an effort to help Blue Energy. Our contract with Blue Energy says that we will consent to an assignment, all things being equal, and we will not unreasonably withhold such a consent to assignment. So we have an obligation to work with them, but they have an obligation to make sure that we're not negatively impacted in any way in the process. So if you're comfortable with this process, I will continue to work it with Mr. Benish, understanding that while we're working on this in the middle, they may do a deal with NBA and not even come to us because of their own timeline.
This is your world, Bill. Is Blue Energy the people that built the solar?
They built it and they own it.
Okay.
They did that as a development deal. We signed an agreement with them that we would purchase all of the energy that solar thing generates.
Okay.
We also did, and it's in our name as far as APS is concerned.
Do they get the excess?
No, the excess is sold to APS at a much reduced rate.
Right.
But what we have to do is pay Blue for everything that's produced. Plus, they get the credit, the solar credit from the government. So Blue makes out like a bandit on this.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. And then National Bank financed the construction.
That's right.
So the airport owes National Bank. And so why is Blue Energy saying, or are they coming in with their own financing to say, hey, we'll pay off?
Yeah, they're gonna pay off. It's going to be a straight refinance deal. Once it's done, NBA will be out of the loop, and the entire mortgage will be with Biltmore.
With all the same qualifications?
What now?
With all the same qualifications?
Yes, yeah. And that was our point. The consent agreement that was sent to us by Biltmore, you know, had several stipulations we just couldn't live with, you know, at all. And they're like, okay, well, we didn't know the whole deal, you know. We will rewrite it in a way that satisfies your attorney, Mr. Benish, and we will also cover your legal expenses that are involved in going through this rigmarole to begin with. So, in the end, the deal that we have will not be impacted, and we will suffer no cost in doing this deal.
Okay, so that's what I was going to add. Is Biltmore waiving all the fees?
Well, I'm sure they're not, but there won't be any fees involved with us.
Okay.
And we are going to require that Blue Energy pay for Mr. Benish's expenses in this process.
I mean, from Biltmore's perspective, I can certainly understand. They probably had some bigger project somewhere and said, yeah, we'll do it, but you have to get us that one and that one, which is why these guys are pushing it. So, I mean, that does kind of happen. So, I mean, I understand that process. Some of the paperwork, and as long as, you
you know, Wayne's a lot smarter than I am in the
Yeah.
legal world, so.
Yeah, yeah. And so I will come back, if you agree me to pursue.
Jim, you got any comments?
No, not really, other than just one question that just came up. You know, we talked about this last fall about our overexpending on the energy situation, and you said that you would talk to them about making some adjustments. Were there any satisfaction ever reached with that?
Yes and no. Mostly no.
Mostly it was like this. Huh?
No. Mike Lafferty is very easy to deal with. I've talked to him several times. He likes what we're talking about. He's going to get someone down here to go through it with us any day now.
Any day?
Yeah.
Well, that was, what,
That
4 or 5
that was
months
6
ago?
months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, as far as this is as a straight business deal, I understand it completely.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through financing with banks and so
Yeah.
forth, and like Bill says, they want to reach over and grab all your assets or everything they can see if they're going to be financing any major portion of it. So it's just like driving a Hertz rental car.
Yeah.
I have no idea who owns that car.
Right.
How's it going to do for the payment? I'm assuming it's going to reduce it, the monthly payment?
It won't have any effect on our payment at all. The amount that they're refinancing, according to Scott Tunn on the conference call, is going to be less because it's been paid down already. I don't know what that amount is, but our payment will not change.
So they still get the revenue, right?
Yes. Yeah. For us, ostensibly, the deal is transparent.
Right.
You know, nothing on our end will change.
How long does this thing last?
20 years. And we've been into it for 2 years.
How long was the loan to be, now is it like a lease, is it offsetting the APS bill? I mean, I guess if I'm going to do a refinance, I want to know that either my term's being shortened, my payment's going down, or both. So if these guys are coming in and Biltmore saying, hey, we're refinancing, then it only seems they're the ones getting the benefit from it.
I would not be surprised. I mean, Mike Lafferty is, he's a deal maker. He's a wheeler dealer. And so he's always taking out any equity he can and using it to finance future deals. And one of Mr. Benish's comments was, what his concern is, this is a pyramid scheme, because you get this rapid growth and everything. And my comment to Mr. Benish was, I can only hope that is the case, because the best thing for us is for Blue Energy to go under. And no matter who winds up with it, it's going to be a better deal for us, because the numbers on the danger of pyramid schemes is the numbers really don't match up.
Mm-hmm.
On this, they match up very well.
Is this, the current loan with National Bank, is it a set 5-year, 10-year, whatever, or is it
As
some
far
sort
as
of
I
lease?
know, it's a 20-year mortgage.
Okay. 20-year amortization, or, because there's a term in an amortization that there can be both be very different.
I have no idea.
Okay. And just, because, again, I keep on getting back to if you're going to refinance, something has to get better. Now, it might be for them, but the rates are tons better than they were even 6 months ago.
Well, if
2 years ago, they were probably down from, say, 6 to 4%.
Well, right now, because of, and this is another whole deal that you don't know about, but let me brief you just very quickly. This system was over-designed.
Okay.
They typically design it so you use 80%, they design it to supply 80% of your power. This was designed to supply much more than that. What that means is, we sell, all the excess is sold
To APS.
to APS at 3 cents. I have an obligation to pay Blue 8 cents on every kilowatt that's generated. So I'm losing 5 cents a kilowatt for the excess.
But your APS bill is going away.
But the APS bill has gone down, not away.
Okay.
Because during the hours of sunset, we're still,
It doesn't store it, like in a battery or some sort?
No, there's no storage capability built in. And this was a flaw in the design. And we've pointed this out. We don't want to get into a lawsuit, so we're trying to just work out an agreement. If we can, if we can just add the building next door, the Quimby hangar, to our power usage here, then we come out ahead. And that's what we're trying, and that's the deal that Mr. Corbett was talking about. We're trying to work a deal, and we're trying to get them to pay to make that to put that bridge, that electrical bridge in, because what we're doing is we're not using enough power. So if we use more power, it's just better for us.
So
And-
you don't want excess, is what
I don't want excess. Right now, it's costing me about $1,000. Based on our previous use and our expectations, it's costing me $1,000 a month. So it's not this huge deal, I can live with it. The whole reason we went into this was not for the solar, we went into it to get shaded parking for our customers. And so, you know, in that regard,
Yeah.
we've met all of our objectives,
Right.
but it'd be nice to put a little icing on the cake.
Okay.
So if Blue goes under, then we can renegotiate the deal.
With the bank.
That's the better.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case. What I have learned in all this is it's a very lucrative, this solar stuff, with the heavy government subsidies, becomes very lucrative. The payback to him is a lot less than 20 years.
Even with though, Ron, when, if you've got some sort of note or deed and you stop paying or another bank takes it over, it's typically, it doesn't allow for the renegotiation. It's like, this is what you had with so-and-so, now here's with the new guy, it's going to go.
But you can always hope.
Yeah, no, I understand, but typically the contract goes over with it, so. Maybe because I'm just cheap, and I would be saying, I want to know what you guys are doing and what you're going to do for us, otherwise, if it's not going to change, why do it?
You know, that's a very good point, and we can go back to them and tell them, reduce our cost by $1,000 a month to take care of the overages.
Exactly, because they're going to be making more than that, I can guarantee you.
Yeah. Good point, fair point. Okay, we'll go back. Does the committee agree with that? We'll go back to them with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. You can negotiate anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
at the beginning, just tell them 2,000.
Okay.
Knock it down to 1,500.
That, or they
Okay.
could just do the.
Okay.
And just go around these, what's the difference?
Okay, we will communicate with them. Now, on the other hand, our agreement says we will consent to an assignment which will not unreasonably be withheld. I don't know if that renegotiation would fall into that category. I will
Throw
ask.
it back at you, then.
Yeah,
you know.
well, I'll go over this with Mr. Benish as well and see if he says, no, that's a good idea, go for it, then we'll go for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it just seems to me that all of this is based on them saying, hey, we want you to refinance, and if you don't want to, because none of the terms match up, say, no, it's not changing us, so why don't
We want something out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, good idea. Okey-doke.
Works, all right.
Okay, in-house attorney. The big question in this is cost. And so let me go through it with you. This is the same presentation for the most part that I gave to the strategy committee. First, the question has come up on having an in-house attorney. And I think it's important to understand the type of person that we're looking for. We're looking for not this guy. This is a high-end corporate in-house attorney, works for software development, law firm, insurance carrier. $100,000 is the median salary there. Even if you look at an associate attorney, your median price is $77. And again, you can see the kind of firms that this type of person would be. What I'm looking for is a municipal attorney, somebody who's used to working with government, public agency kind of stuff. If you go to the city attorney, you can see for the top guy, it's $79,000, and this is the guy that I'm looking for, an assistant city attorney. The salary, the median salary for this guy is $67,000, and you can see we're the kind of organization that person typically will provide. And what I'm talking about here is the guy that sits in his office and goes through all of these deals, goes through all of our leases and all of our business contracts day in, day out. The reason that I want to move in this direction is if you look at our legal expenses, and this is a total of our legal expenses over the past 5 years, the kinds of projects that we're talking about are things that have to do with us being a public agency. And this is the review of our board minutes, our agendas, keeping us legal in our day-to-day business. The other big ticket here is our leases, and then we've got contracts. We have the other thing, and then grants. Okay, we've got the lawsuit, co-counsel, and Gomez are I kind of group those into one area. The biggest chunk of what our money goes to is run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. Even the issues here with Gomez, that was freedom of information stuff. We were very careful as we went through the freedom of information questions. A guy with municipal experience would be able to handle those. The lawsuit and the co-counsel stuff, we would shove those out anyway. By the way, this lawsuit, this was Chevron. Even that could have been handled in-house because this never got into litigation. This was just a claim by Chevron based on false statements by another individual that we're working with through the Luxair complaint. This just amounted to providing Chevron all the background information after which they stopped talking to us. So even this one, really the only thing here that is remotely involved in litigation is co-counsel, and even the co-counsel stuff is there's no litigation. This is where Mr. Benish is assisting the outside attorneys that we have working, which is Kutak, Rock, and Gordon and Neese on the two legal issues that we've got going on. So our plan never is to use Byrne and Benish in litigation because they're not litigators. They are contract attorneys, and I think we can find somebody to do that. So what kind of drives me to this conclusion, if you look at the cost that we're talking about, how much is it going to cost to bring in an in-house attorney? As you saw with the salary ranges there that we're talking about, I think we can bring somebody in for $65,000. Typically, someone in this range, the overhead, which is taxes and insurance, will run about 30 to 35%, but you never know. Depending on the size of the family involved, it could be higher than that. So I'm allowing 50% overhead on this. So that gives you just under 6 figures for the cost of the person. Because this person will be an in-house attorney, I'm estimating $20,000 in legal subscriptions. They need access to a variety of things. By the way, this number I got from, I went and talked to Robert McKells, the county administrator, and went over all of this with him to see if I'm in the ballpark. My number on this was $10,000. He recommended I double that to $20,000. Mr. Benish has said that I will need, at a minimum, a half-time paralegal. His price for a paralegal is $40,000, so half-time would be $20,000. My feeling is I would not hire that person, at least initially. I believe we have enough administrative staff in-house that we could take care of that. And again, it's because of part of the job function. In a corporate firm, you need that paralegal because your corporate attorney is handling so many cases based on the way they function. In our case, I don't see any problem with our attorney being able to handle his own workload. We would continue to use Byrne and Benish in those areas where it is where he has value to add. And typically, that is dealing with other civic and civil agencies in Yuma because he's been around for so long. My initial thought was that would be around $12,000 a year because when every board meeting he comes to costs roughly $1,000. And so in a year's time, that would be about $12,000. But to make the budget fit here at $150, we upped that to $32,500. So, okay, so what does this mean? The other reason I'm going here is because, and this is the point that I really want to stress, I don't need less legal assistance. I need more legal assistance. Now, Mr. Benish's hourly rate is $295. At we budget him for $150,000 a year. That gives us a maximum of 500 hours of legal advice. Because of the way we're growing and because of the type of work that we're doing, we're seeing more contracts all the time. The issue is that as our work expands in the DCC, we do contracts that are minor in nature that'll bring in $500 or $1,000 in revenue. And like with Boeing comes in here, they want to stay a few weeks. But whatever attorney on their end wants an amendment to our existing lease. I look at it, it's an innocuous clause, it's obviously something that they want on their end. If I send that to Mr. Benish, the cost is going to be between $500 and $1,000, so there's no money in it for us. So those kinds of issues I'm deciding on in-house. If I had an attorney in-house, that and much more could be handled by them. If we take the same budget, the first thing is, if we have somebody in-house, it's a given. I've got 2,000 hours a year that I can use. And you can see the hourly rate, if you want to look at it that way, is going to be that much less. So at the very beginning, I've got a 400% improvement just in the hours that are available to us for legal services. And under this cost equation, I've got an hourly rate, which is also a 400% improvement. Now, Mr. Benish is in the strategy committee meeting. His counter was that, well, this is his rate. He does farm out some of his stuff, and so it would be more accurate to use 220 as his hourly rate as an average. I will accept that, but I'll tell you that when he farms that stuff out, that sometimes we wind up paying for 2 attorneys because they talk to each other, you know. So it would be higher. But anyway, even if you accept this number, you're still going to have a 300% improvement in the hours available based on that budget. Oh no, wait here. I would still have 400%. The other issue is, this is the worst case. His recommendation was that my budget is unrealistic. We should add 200. We should make that budget a $200,000 item or more. If we were to do that, accepting his lower figure up here and a higher figure down there, we're still gonna come out ahead in this equation because of the hours of legal services that we need. Let me see what's the next slide here. So, to me, no matter how you run the numbers, we're going to be better off if we come in-house. If the decision of the strategy committee was to go ahead and move forward with the hiring process, we have started that process, advertising the position. We're working that through Hunter Employment. In my conversation with Mr. Pickels, he offered to assist us in the screening process to include initial telephone screening and then in the interview process as we refine the list down. We would go through our standard employment practice, bringing the person on through Hunter for 3 months, and then if we decide to keep them, there'll still be a 12-month probation period. During the time, obviously, we're going to continue to use, this is going to be a transition from one mode of operation to another. We will continue to use Mr. Benish during that transition period. Like I said, there for board meetings and other issues as specified. We would also continue to use Gordon and Reese for FAA specific and Kutak Rock for the ongoing litigation that's going on. Those obviously are covered by our insurance company. So the question for the committee is the proposed budget. Mr. Benish has said he thinks the cost will be $200,000 or more. I really don't believe that. I think it'll be $150,000 or less. Keep in mind our current budget that we exceeded last year, and we're on track to at least meeting this year, is $150,000. I think bringing somebody in-house, this would be the maximum. I think we'd come in underneath this. For budgeting purposes, what should we use? My recommendation is that we use our existing budget. The reason is, if we use that existing budget, if we budget this, it takes $50,000 out of our budget that I don't think will ever be used for legal. I would rather take that $50,000 and put it back into our capital improvement section, where we can spend money on the airport and do other projects that we want to do. So I think that's it that I've got to talk about. So comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Two things.
Okay.
First of all, I disagree with Wayne, that 200,000 is low.
Okay.
I think you're 250, maybe 3, when it's all said and done. I've got a son that's an in-house attorney.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know what he makes, and yeah, he's in business, but the quality that we're gonna get for 150,000 is, I don't believe that we're gonna get the quality that we need. That would be my first concern.
Okay.
At the level you're talking about, at $60,000, $70,000 for an attorney, you're getting the bottom of the heap. Sure and simple. A good attorney is going to be Wayne 150 or better. I think you're really, really low. And first of all, I just don't agree that we need one right now. That's my feeling, and I don't want to do anything. I think it's a bad thing to do right now. So you know how I feel.
Okay.
Jim?
You shot yourself in the foot already, Craig. You're coming up with 500 hours, and Wayne is basically performing for us now, and that's taking care of the majority of our percentage of legal work. If we have an in-house attorney at roughly 2,000 hours, you're talking about a 400% increase in just the volume of time alone, not considering the work. A young attorney, and going on the same route as Ron has already started, a young attorney starting out with a couple of years of experience, $65,000, $70,000, shouldn't have any problem grasping and learning the ropes, learning the FAA, learning the airport, learning all of this stuff within a year or two.
I agree
So,
totally.
therefore, my suggestion is, if we want to continue down this line, is that we do not use Wayne.
Oh, the intent would be, like I say, it's a transition.
Well, I think a reasonable transition would be a matter of 3 to 6 months.
Well, I agree with you. I'm trying to be sensitive to the desires of other board members
Right.
who think it'll take a little bit longer.
Well,
I mean,
I think an attorney that has passed the bar and has made the rigors,
yeah.
and can interview and show his sharpness and
Yeah.
so forth, should be able to step and start learning.
I totally agree. That is my belief. There has been an expression of concern by board members that we not too hastily dispense with the services that Mr. Benish provides.
Well, not too hastily, but I couldn't justify, or I couldn't support Wayne for longer than another 3 to 6 months.
So that works for me. I think it would be reasonable to keep him in our back pocket for the unexpected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you just got through talking about him attending the meetings, and he's earning $1,000 just for attending the meetings and coming up with some of his input, which is
Well, let me say on that issue, I'm not hard over either way. If the board wants to make this a 3 to 6 month transition, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. If the consensus is don't be so fast, whatever it takes. My concern is, and let me back up here. My concern is this 500 hours. And I didn't make this point strongly enough. The 500 hours that we're getting is covering this stuff. It's not coming close to covering the stuff that needs to be covered. As I said, a lot of this stuff I'm doing on my own. What I do is the stuff comes in, I get it ready, I get it prepared, I do a lot of review. I just talked about the consent to assignment. I've sent 2 pages of notes to Mr. Benish on that for him to look at. I do that to keep our costs down. That's the first thing. The second thing is there are other issues here that we're not even, that we're just not even doing. And Junior, you can give me more of a feedback on that.
Absolutely. We need some help in risk management.
Yeah.
We really do. I have a liability insurance application, just timely, on my
Yeah.
desk here to go over and to approve. And the third question, the first two are your name and address, and the third question is, do you have a full-time risk manager?
Yeah.
That's the third question. Then back in here, there's a question on this application is whether or not we have an in-house counsel. And the reason those questions are asked because the nature of our entity, being a public entity, and the nature of the risk of the operation that we take. So risk management, we need a lot of help on. Correspondence and with our leases, Wayne is doing it now. There's a lot of stuff that we handle on our own because the revenue side of it just doesn't justify sending it over to Wayne.
Precisely.
And over and beyond this, and I'm not even really involved in this, the UAS stuff scares me to death.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's always at the staff meeting saying, oh, wait a minute, who's going to be responsible? And the UAS stuff, it just has liability all over it that needs to be looked at. It can be done, but we need somebody.
And that's what's been pushing me the most. We can limp along the way we are right now for another 3 or 4 years, but the future is coming. And I'm the one that wrote the UAS operations manual. And granted, it was a rewrite of existing military safety and UAS operations manuals. But I can tell you, every paragraph is just, scares me to death. And so but it's cost prohibitive. I can't take all those questions and sit down with Mr. Benish and say, give me an estimate of this.
No.
I need an attorney who's at the end of the hallway there. So 8 times a day I can go in and say, what do you think of this? And he can go, ooh, don't go there. Or he can go, yeah, I understand that. That's not a problem. Or somewhere in between. Regarding the city attorneys, I've worked with city attorneys for a lot of years. I agree completely with Mr. Rice in that there's a big difference between a city attorney and somebody like Blaine. We go to Kutak Rock because in our litigation, they're at the top of the heap, and these guys are really smart. But that's not the guy that I need on the day-to-day stuff. The day-to-day stuff that I want that in-house attorney to sit here in this building is so when we have staff meetings, we're getting a legal opinion built in all the time. Whenever we're having an initial customer meeting, which essentially is a sales meeting, he's there listening with an experienced legal ear to sort through this stuff. I don't think the budget is unreasonable based on the kind of person that I'm trying to bring in. I'm not trying to replace Mr. Benish. I'm trying to bring somebody in that will take care of 90%. Now, in the process, we have Tim McCullough. He is a very experienced FAA attorney, widely acknowledged. What I would do is I would use him to get our guy smart, and I would make our guy responsible for managing that relationship, so he can maximize it as much as possible while keeping the cost down. As you say, there is going to be a learning curve there, but I don't think it's going to be excessive. And when something really out of the blue comes up, we can always tap into Tim. But Tim's expenses are reasonable, and they don't mushroom out of sight. So that's kind of my take on it. If I answered your question.
Mostly, but I'll go back to one of my original statements, is that the only way I can support this or see it even happening is that, that we go through that transition 3 to 6 month maximum.
Okay.
I believe one of the slides actually alluded to that. It said there was a phase out.
I still get a feeling here from Craig that, that we're going to be leaning on Wayne, and it's nothing against Wayne. It's just that if we're going to go this route, we're going to have to get more production, which he's talking about a 400% increase in the amount of hours alone.
Well, you know what, and I agree with you. And the thing in my mind, I'm looking at these numbers. If we're going out asking for that. You set the parameters, and then only talk to someone that's willing to talk to you within those parameters. Because with Ron's son, he's probably tons better than we need for this, or at least twice as good based on numbers wise, if we're going to quantify it. But I also thought, okay, well, what are we? And it was a couple of years ago, but when they published the Steve Moore, who's I play softball with, and they published his salary, and I went, oh crap, I want to know how much you make. And I thought it was more than that. But with his experience, and he's been doing it for 30-something years, you get someone that's fresh, out of school, that knows how to do their research online and everything else, and even if he's half as good as someone, well, we've got him for twice as long and he can grow into it, because you're not doing...
My feeling would be, we want to find somebody with 5 years' experience.
Right.
And I think we can at that price range.
Let me verify something for you. I have a very good friend that was the city attorney, who was formerly a state governmental attorney, and he's also an FAA examiner. So he could also throw a little bit of light. I could run this by him real quick.
Absolutely.
It'd be worth it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hear what he has to say.
And see if he thinks that we're, even in the ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if with all the UAS, with the expansion that we talked about earlier, if there's the ability to bring in, if let's just call it a break even now, because that's what we're spending anyways, and if we can get the parameters, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel or darkness at the end of the tunnel. If we continue on this path, we're not going to get any better based on, then there has to be some sort of growth. And maybe this is the way to allow the transition.
That's really my feeling. As I explained to the strategy committee meeting, I'm really not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the person that follows me. You can put this off. You can put this off for another 3 years. But at the end of that 3 years, you're going to be so far behind the power curve. I think the time to do this is now. Build in this cost. The way we're growing and the type of services that we're providing just are going to require more legal service than we can possibly afford to buy.
Well, I would certainly hope to keep it within the budget parameters.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem. Well, I mean, let's say we don't go this way and we stick with $150,000 on our legal budget. Okay, I mean, I can do that, but I will also be obligated to tell you guys, I think, we're doing a disservice to the Airport Authority in the long run. I think I can bring the budget down and improve the production of the legal services and improve the overall position of the airport from a risk standpoint, because that's what attorneys are going to do. They're going to manage our risk through the contractual and the legal obligations and the reviews that we do. I'm just uncomfortable continuing on the way we are.
At the 150 or 200,000, either one, have you proposed or figured in any salary increases? Because you're going to face it. You're going to have it.
No, but but that comes out in the annual budget wash. I have figured that out. I would bring that person on board in one of our rate structured positions, and so every year there's a COLA increase, as we've talked about. Every 2 years there's a step increase, but I'm doing that the same way the military treats their attorneys. All those attorneys in the military are at a certain rate, at a certain rank structure, and that works for them over the long period. And so I would do the same thing.
It has to.
Yeah. I would not, and that's why I would start this person in the range I'm talking about, because I can look out for 8 years and see that it's still a manageable product. And again, that's one of the issues. If you go to work for a public service agency, what you're doing is at the very beginning you're saying is, I don't want to be wealthy. I want a job, I want to be comfortable, I want to do fun and exciting stuff.
Well, that's another thought of mine. What if this person says, all right, I'm going to do it, and after 2 years they've established themselves, and then they say, Wayne managed, hey, I'll give you $300 an hour, come on over and work with us. We start all over again.
That's going to happen to you.
No, and I understood that.
We'll lose that person within 5 years, the first program.
I will tell you that is a risk with everybody in this room.
Of course.
And that's kind of cost of doing business.
I just, so you know, first of all, I'm against it.
Okay.
And make no doubt
Tell me how you
about it.
really feel, sir.
And I think that your numbers are low.
Okay, I understand.
Well, that's the reason I'm saying, let's keep it within budget, $150,000.
Yeah, and in particular, the first year, you're paying that attorney to learn. That's like sending him to school
Yeah.
for the first year.
Well, and
Say 6 months, and I don't think so, it's gonna take a year.
there-
But anyway, that's.
Run across some of these guys that are
Yeah,
sharp.
I wanna see this thing go to the board, because right now, I'm against it.
Okay.
Your Wells Fargo does a lot of training. When I used to hire people, they send them off to a lot of training, and typically they would get trained and then go off to someone else that's promising more money. But I heard a phrase once that said, would you rather have them train them and leave, or not train them and have them stay? So you could potentially say, okay, I'm going to bring someone on if they're sharp, and bring them on and say, yes, the first 6 months, a year is going to be some sort of training, because we're going to introduce you to stuff that you didn't go through in law school, but the basics are there. And if they go in 5 years, then I don't know, maybe that's the risk. But
Well, one of the,
That's an inherent risk in anything.
no, I understood.
I think one of the things that is your interview process, your screening process, takes that into account. One of the reasons I don't want somebody out of law school is because that risk is dramatically increased.
That's the last thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I want somebody in the 5 to 10 year range who, for whatever reason, has decided that what they're interested more in is security and stability. And some people get into the legal field and don't respond well to the pressure. You know, I mean, it's an intense business. In this environment, in a municipal environment, it's not quite so intense. And so this is where somebody can come in and be a valuable member doing the job that needs to be done, and they accept the trade-off.
Could you build in something of, here's the COLA, and it'll be let's just call it semi-generous, I don't want to go over the top, but based on, here's what we'll give you, you have to give us 3 years or 5 years, or, do it, something like that?
Absolutely, we can do that. My feeling is that's never been a successful tactic, because if they leave anyway, you can get the commitment out of them in hopes that that'll influence them, but if they decide to leave, I'm not going to go after them.
No.
You know what I mean? And so
No, but someone like that might just say, God, I do, or even if it's another year, hey, I got another year before I get to that point. Or,
yeah, absolutely. We can. Those are all part of the HR process.
Because I think if you're going to find someone that's just unhappy, it's going to be the first couple of months, not 18, 20 months into it.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you have litigation, you're gonna have another attorney anyway.
That's right.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
Most attorneys aren't litigators anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the recommendation for the board, I will take all the input. My question is, what is the recommendation for the budget? My recommendation is we hold it at 150, and then here's the other thing: we make it work or we don't.
That's right.
Yeah, I've started the process of advertising for an attorney. I will tell you, in the past 18 months, I've advertised twice anonymously through Hunter. I've had the resumes come in. I took all those to Mr. Pickell's. I said, would you look at these and tell me what you think? And he did look at them, and I told him what, at that time I was advertising at 55, once at 55, once at 60. And he looked at me, he said, well, this guy's a jerk. But he also said, yeah, this is good, these are well-qualified people. And that is when he also said he would participate in the screening process. I can hire a nice guy, but I need him to help me hire a competent attorney, and he volunteered to help us with that.
So my feeling is, if the board approves it, that's fine, then go with 150,000.
Okay. Okay.
Then we can fix dirt roads. Then we can fix
That's
dirt
right.
roads.
Yeah. Okay. That is it. Any other questions for me?
So we have a board meeting next Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday. That's right. This will be on the agenda as the other two items that you saw.
So within today?
Yes, at 4 p.m.
Get that
Welcome
little black
aboard,
book.
Should be in there. I'm sorry?
Welcome aboard, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah. Going slower than some of the boards I've been on. Within months, they were like, hey, you want to be vice president? Hey, will you? Oh, he quit, now you're president. What the hell just happened?
When I was on the school board, sometimes it's four meetings a month.
Yeah.
Is Pat gonna stay on this committee, or you just gonna ask him whether he wants to or not?
Probably that's the best thing at the next board meeting, let's talk to him about it.
See if he-
I mean, he has a lot of valuable input because
Yeah, I'd
of
like
who
to
he
see him
is.
stay on if he could make the meetings.
Okay,
Or maybe ask him what time works for him better.
yeah. Well, the issue with Mr. Waltz is his schedule, and you've got to get on his schedule a couple months out.
Oh, I can believe
And this
that.
kind of stuff pops up all of a sudden, and I need an input from the committee before, we go to the board. And so, the way we've got it structured right now, there's no problem with him being on the committee. We can have 5 members on the committee. And because he usually doesn't come, then you've still got space for Mr. Engel to come as well. If everybody were to come, plus Mr. Engel, we would have to ask Mr. Engel to, not participate.
That's good, I've always wanted to kick Rob out.
Okay.
Maybe to be quiet.
Yeah. All right, anything else, gentlemen?
No, sir.
We're adjourned. We're out of here.
Mr. Scott.
No, I've got other things to do. I'm not gonna go through what I went through again with you.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
You're all, if you want to talk, you talk here where I got witnesses too, but I'm not going through what I went through with you again.
Okay, why don't you sit down here?
All right, let me run down to the little boys' room, I'll be right back.
Give me a statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like fun.
Let me, I'm going to send you